Now, a word from our sponsor about transfiguration. Hearing today's gospel about Jesus' transfiguration, we could almost think of that word as the name of a laundry bleach or detergent. His clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them, Scripture says. Actually, the translation is from the Greek word metamorphos, meaning transformed, change in form. In this case today, it is an outwardly visible transformation. Here's where we are in the Gospel of Mark. 6 days after first telling the disciples that he would suffer greatly, be rejected by the Jewish authorities, be killed, and rise after 3 days, Jesus and 3 of his disciples were standing by themselves on a high mountain. He had led them to this place away from the other disciples. As Peter, James, and John looked on, Jesus was transfigured right before their eyes, and his clothes became dazzling white. And there appeared to them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. The author of this gospel wanted to make absolutely clear that this was a transformation that was outwardly visible and revealed Jesus' heavenly glory. As such, the disciples were able to witness it and be awestruck. Days before, Peter had acknowledged or confessed that Jesus was the Messiah. Now, this visible change in his appearance confirmed that Jesus was of God. But if that wasn't enough, there was also the voice out of the cloud saying, "This is my Son, the Beloved. Listen to him." So Peter, James, and John experienced both visible and audible affirmation of Jesus' identity as the Son of God. Some of us here may have had a similar experience. That is to say, perhaps you've seen a bright vision of a person or a scene of nature that made you feel as if what or who you were seeing was a wonder of God's making. An example for me from nature is the change of seasons. I was saying at 8 o'clock, I thought this came to me because of my desire to see it happen soon. But you see winter with stark, leafless trees, yielding leaves and flowers in the spring. And when spring is in its fullness, it looks and smells glorious. Nature has been transformed through the power of the Creator. There is another kind of transfiguration. It is invisible. It's a significant change, not visible to the naked eye, leaving the person or thing transformed, yet looking the same. Thinking about this, a surprising example came to mind. Paul, originally known to us as Saul. We're familiar with the story of his conversion, lying the loss of sight, then his healing through the hands of Ananias. This might also be considered his transfiguration, from a zealous hunter of Jesus' followers to the apostle we heard from today, who proclaims Jesus Christ as Lord and himself as a slave of the church of Corinth. For Christ's sake. Paul was transformed. But look what's the thing. It's my suspicion that more of us have experienced this kind of transformation rather than the visible kind. Just as the transfiguration of Jesus confirmed his identity to Peter, James, and John, our transformational experiences can confirm or reveal our identity to others and to ourselves. Or perhaps a call or vocation will become known to us. Right here at St. Peter's Episcopal Church, on the frozen tundra, it feels as if there are people who are stepping forward and, in different ways, helping to build up the church, doing things they've not done before or have not done for a long time. Providing for coffee hour, running for vestry, helping with First Monday meals, serving on altar or flower building, nurturing a new ministry. It could be any of these or other efforts. Whatever it is, something changed in them and moved them to say, yes, I can help with that. Or, yes, I can do that. There also may be times when our transforming experience moves us to say, no, I will not do that. In the case of Martin Luther King, an invisible transformation changed him and led him not to alter his path for the 1957 Montgomery bus boycott. His experience was described in Taylor Branch's first volume about America during the King years, called Parting the Waters. King was at home one night and received yet another threatening phone call. Violence and threats of violence always seem to be near at hand. But this particular call upset him because it added to all of the confusion and fears surrounding him at this time. In him at this time. Altogether, it was nearly overwhelming. He got up and went into the kitchen and began praying fervently. Taylor Branch reported that King heard an inner voice telling him to ignore the confusion and fears and do what he thought was right. That was a transformational moment for Martin Luther King. It was an invisible one that involved starch rather than bleach, reassuring him that he could lead this courageous effort to end Montgomery's discrimination in public transportation. He could. King's resolve to move ahead on the path he believed to be right was stiffened by a mountaintop experience in his kitchen. And we know that he It's important to understand that having a mountaintop experience does not permit us to stay up there basking in the glow. If it truly is transformational, it will send us down the mountain to pray, to act, and to reflect on what we have experienced. This is the discernment cycle of prayer that Father Tom talked about last Sunday. He described it as a way for us to pay attention to the presence of God. Pay attention to the presence of God. The cycle begins with prayer. Prayer is followed by experience or action in response to the prayer. The experience or action is followed by reflection upon it. Then the cycle begins again with prayer. Whether our transformational experiences are distinct events, such as Jesus' own, or Paul's, or Dr. King's, however ours unfold, they are valid and meaningful, especially if they lead us to pay attention to God. In doing so, we shall live in the circle of God's will and transforming life.